and welcome to our CoSIDA Special Awards video tributes. Today we are honoring our distinguished 2020 and 2021 CoSIDA Achievement Award recipients. My name is Ira Thor, Senior Director of University Communications at New Jersey City University, and I'm thrilled to speak to our most recent Achievement Award honorees. We wish we could salute you in person, but in our virtual environment, we thank you for joining us today via this group video. And let's offer our congratulations first to the 2020 honorees from the University Division, Kara Fisher, the Assistant Athletic Communications Director at Michigan State University. And from the College Division, here's Southern Indiana University Assistant Director of Athletic Communications, Dan McDonnell. Now for our 2021 Achievement Award recipients. From the University Division, Brian Mason, the Assistant Director of Brand Communications at the University of Wisconsin. And our College Division winner, SUNY Cortland Associate Director of Athletic Communications, Dan Surdam. The Achievement Award is presented annually to one University Division and one College Division member. The CoSIDA Achievement Awards are presented to Associate or Assistant Media Relations Directors with 10 or more years of athletic communications service who have made outstanding contributions to the field and provide exceptional service to their institution or conference office. So congratulations to the four of you for your Achievement Awards. And what's especially significant is that this honor is nominated by and voted upon by your peers. So I'm going to ask each of you, what does this award mean to you? And we'll start with our 2020 award recipients. Since you guys have waited the longest, we'll start with Dan McDonnell, who spent the last 2+ decades at Southern Indiana. Dan?
Thanks, Ira, and it's an honor to be recognized by my peers. To have everyone, recognize me, the things that I'm doing. We don't always get the recognition that maybe we all deserve, and we're certainly not in it for recognition, but it means a lot, to see that other SIDs throughout the country that notice my work and gives me a sense of pride.
Kara, what about you? What's the significance of this Achievement Award to you?
I would echo a lot of the same things Dan said. This can be a thankless profession. So being nominated by my peers is a big deal. I thank Jamie Baldwin, who nominated me. It's just a big honor to see that all this hard work for way too many years has been seen by my peers and recognized. It's great to be able to be honored by CoSIDA, which is just an organization that I've been proud to be a part of for so long. And to be recognized by them is a huge accomplishment, and I'm very proud to take this award. And sad we can't do it in person, but I'm really excited to be talking to everyone here today.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have a big post-celebration in Vegas in 2022. We'll turn now to our 2021 recipients. We'll first ask our second Big Ten Conference Award recipient. The Big Ten is cleaning up today, and that's Brian Mason. Brian, you've been a mainstay with Wisconsin athletics for 15 years, spending the majority of your time there as communications contact for football, for the players and assistant coaches. What's your thought on receiving this honor?
Well, it is. It's an honor. Like Dan and Kara said, there's sort of a thankless aspect to what we do. And especially in the Big Ten, I mean, you're part of a big program, and there's a lot of moving parts that lead to the athletic department having success. And you can pretty easily feel like a small cog in a big machine at times. So to be recognized that the work I do and the contributions I make are helpful and, or make a difference around here, that's a pretty high compliment in my book. So it is quite an honor.
Dan Surdam, you spent your college and professional careers in upstate New York. You served at SUNY Cortland with Fran for 20+ years. Congratulations on the honor. And what does the recognition, again, voted by your peers, mean to you?
Well, thank you, Ira, and I'm glad to be batting cleanup here. It's really awesome to be recognized, for my excellence, the dedication, and obviously the longevity in the profession. And I think a lot of what this award has done is that, family and friends, they get a better idea of what I've done through these years, because it's amazing still after 20+ years there's not an understanding of what we do as a whole. Again, it's like you miss weddings, you miss birthdays, and the family's like, well, why? Why do you have to work? And so getting this award gives me a chance to, to show the rest of the friends and family that, this is a great responsibility we've done for all these years, and to be recognized with something like this, it's just amazing. And it just helps to solidify, the choice I made 20 plus years ago.
Well, Dan hitting cleanup just had his first RBI of the interview, and we'll stay with our 2021 honorees for our next question. And that is, can you think of one professional accomplishment or success that you've recently had in your campus that you're particularly proud of personally? Brian, I'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's, I would say that anytime you are able to play a role in seeing student athletes have success and then be recognized for that success, I consider that an accomplishment. That's what we're here to do. But one in particular that I think of right away is a young man named Dakota Dixon, was a safety for our football team on some pretty successful teams here at Wisconsin, and was someone who came from a remarkably challenging background. That alone would have been pretty remarkable for him to achieve what he did here as a football player. But when you consider the person he became and the man he is today, it's a really remarkable story. And so to be able to get his story out there, to have people get to know him a little bit, and then see him recognized for his character and everything that he did on and off the field as he grew here in his time at Wisconsin. I mean, he was named the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year. And at that ceremony, when his name was read and he got to go up and give his remarks as the winner of that award, that's, I felt pretty good. You felt like you'd done right by somebody who really deserved your best effort in their time as a student athlete here. And so that's one that stands out to me among many great opportunities I've had to promote and stand alongside student athletes as they make great accomplishments. But that's the big payoff for me in this job.
We'll go back to Central New York. And Dan, what is your memory or accomplishment you're particularly proud of?
This past year, we've had to come up with different ways to recognize our student athletes, because we were shut down all of fall and on all of winter. So we had to come up with creative ways to have our student athletes recognized. And some of those were like title recalls. We visited, past titles and, interviewed coaches and players. We did senior spotlights, know the newcomers. But I think this one is kind of stepping out away from the sports information side of thing. We underwent an exhaustive pool testing this past year from September all the way through May. And I was a part of that from the very beginning. I started as kind of a bouncer guy outside, making crowd control, making sure the students were, in line, 6 feet, masked on. Then I moved into an attendant 1 position, attendant 2 position. I covered most of the positions in there. And just to be able to help out the college, the students, was just really rewarding to take my time to do that. And I think with my demeanor, my personality really helped, because you would get students in there super nervous about doing these tests. And I was able to get them to relax. And it also allowed me to interact with the student athletes who I hadn't seen, because I'm so used to doing that. And not just the student athletes, but the entire student body. So taking part in this pool testing throughout the entire year, I think was just really rewarding for me, and a different direction that I chose to go.
Go back in time to our 2020 winners. And Kara, I'll start with you.
I think as a woman of color, this past year has been very trying. So I think being able to help guide some of our student athletes through this year has been a major accomplishment. The Big Ten was one of the first conferences back, so we were kind of all eyes on us as we're figuring out testing and bubbles in tier 1 and tier 2 and what that means and what that looks like, and kind of guiding our student athletes through all that while dealing with all of the adversity that we're going through as a country has been pretty trying. So I feel really proud of what we did, and as athletic department and as an athletic communications staff, is trying to go through that as smooth as possible. I survived an NCAA bubble, which is kind of something I never thought I'd be able to, ever understand what that means. And we came through that stronger, and it was a good time to get to know those kids. You're never going to get to know a kid as much as you are waiting for your antigen testing on a ballroom floor in San Antonio, Texas. So it was something, you're going to look back on years from now, like, oh, this was crazy. But I'm really proud of how well we did it. It still provided services for our student athletes and told their stories and got to be at games. So I think that was just an accomplishment in and of itself, that we made it through this year and still were able to tell some amazing stories.
Survived an NCAA bubble and all you got was a t-shirt.
Yes, literally.
Dan, you'll be the last one for this part of the interview. What is what you're most proud of in your time?
Yeah, I recently had and this is kind of maybe not so much in sports information, more kind of along the lines of what kind of our university mission is, and that's to educate students. And I'm in charge of our GLBC Sports Network efforts on campus, as far as scheduling, streaming, working with our students that work on those broadcasts. And recently, actually it was just last week, I had one of my students that called me and that just recently graduated and thanked me for all my efforts with him and teaching him, certain things as much as I knew how to, that I could teach him and show him, and trying to provide him with maybe some ins that he might not have had otherwise. So getting that phone call was really cool. I mean, that's why we're in at, higher education, and whether it be with student athletes, regular students, but to be able to affect somebody's life in a positive way, that's where that gave me a lot of pride.
So now in our challenging college athletic environment, we're coming out of this pandemic, what would you tell a young athletic communications professional about staying in this profession? What lessons or advice can you share about best practices, skills to develop, and how to meet these challenges? And for this one, we'll start with you, Kara.
I would start by saying less is more. We as athletic communicators need to work smarter, not longer. I would say it is not a contest who was the longest game notes. 45-page game notes for something that's going to be seen by 10 people is not a good use of your time. Everybody trying to outdo the number of hours you work is not the way to stay in this for the long run. We need to take pride in shutting things down. Let's talk about, I got this much time off. It's hard to do, and we're all slammed, especially in a pandemic year. But self-care is the most important thing if you're going to last in this, and we need to focus less on being at everything. So I think one way to do that is learn to say no. It's not been my strength over all these years, but sometimes no is the best thing you can do for yourself, and just kind of keeping an eye on that and setting the boundaries of, I don't have to be at the beck and call of every coach. I can say no, I can shut it down, and that is how you survive. And last thing I would say is you always have to be willing to learn. I started this business with dial-up, and we made it through Twitter and Instagram and Insta stories and fleets. And adapting and learning is how it stays fresh. And that's how you make it through several decades.
Brian, what about you?
I'd say something that's important is to not limit your vision to what you think you're getting into. Sort of along the lines of what Kara was saying with adapting. I mean, that's the nature of what we as communicators have done, is adapt to the times and to the technology. And as audiences changes, we try to meet them. And I think the same thing applies broadly. If you listen to everyone's answer to the question about what are you proud of and what's an accomplishment that really meant something to you, none of them were keeping stats. None of them were doing game notes. None of them were sending a release. I mean, it was stuff that you wouldn't see in a job description. In some cases, doesn't seem to fit your job at all, and especially what Dan and Dan were talking about, or the mentorship that Kara's talking about providing. So don't limit yourself. At the same time, while we need to respect our own boundaries, we need to take care of ourselves, like Kara said. I think don't be afraid to see an opportunity in doing something that maybe isn't the vision you had for yourself and where you think, your predestined career path is going, because there are a lot of things that I do that command a lot of my time that 5 or 10 years ago I would have never dreamed fell into the realm of what I do for my daily work. So see opportunities and don't be afraid to branch out and do things that maybe don't necessarily fit the SID world or the athletic communications world, and because you never know where those things might take you. And the other piece I would say, in a very practical sense, because I talked to someone who is aspiring, this is like 2 weeks ago, I talked to someone who was aspiring to get into the field. And one thing I said from a very practical standpoint, write. Like not learn AP style, but write and get reps in writing, because no matter how the methods that we communicate change, the written word is still pretty darn important to the work that we do, no matter what form it takes. So if you're looking for a practical takeaway, that's one thing I'd say is keep writing.
Turn it over to you, Dan McDonnell.
Those are both great answers, and I'm going to echo that a little bit. I think being open to learning new things every day. Don't go into the profession thinking that you know everything, because the second that you think you know everything, something's going to smack you right in the face. And just understand that there's always things to learn every day. And then, echoing what Kara said about knowing when to say when, that the work will be there tomorrow. Go home, try to have, a life outside the office.
And Dan Surdam, you're better.
Yeah, well, everybody else pretty much jumped in on a lot of what I was going to say. Brian, you stole my thunder about learning to put together a well-written sentence, because that seems to really be forgotten these days. And that was one of my important practical points. And sorry, Dan, on this other thing I'm going to say, because this wasn't your fault today, but I like to say, if you're on time, you're late. That's one thing that's big with me. I always tell that to all the students. If you're on time, you're late. So, that's practical stuff. On the other side of things, both Fran and I, we've had a lot of students that have worked with us and that have ended up in this profession. And what we do, again, we're Division III, so we cover a whole lot of different sports and a whole lot of different areas. And I think what we are good at and what we've learned to do is be less hands-on with these students and let them get the hands-on experience. Let them do as much as they can. So if you get a chance to do PA, you do PA. You get a chance to key a game, you key. You learn how to call. You do recaps. You do photos on the back end. Again, we wouldn't ask these students to do anything that we don't do ourselves. And so if you can immerse yourself in as much as possible, that's really important. The other thing I think you have to realize that's important in this profession, you have to deal with the adversity. You have to deal with stress. And if you can't handle the stress and adversity, maybe this isn't the profession for you. And lastly, I guess one thing that's really important that I think for me is important is that you really learn to handle people. You have to learn to deal with people, because we're working with all kinds of different people all the time. We're working with the coaches, the student athletes, the officials, unfortunately, in many cases, the parents. So you have to learn to be across the board. You have to learn how to handle people too. So again, there are just so many things that are involved in this profession. And the thing is, there's always going to be sports out there. There's always going to need a need for people who want to be in this business.
Well said. And I have a follow-up for Kara that is, this is an obvious one, of course, but for those who don't know, you work directly side by side in Michigan State's athletic communications office with your husband, Zach. What was it like working remotely at home together, juggling both your personal and professional life? And I know much of the year your busy seasons are opposite of each other, but that may not have been the case this year.
Yeah, it's I always say it's nice to have a proofreader in the house. So, here's a media guide, to start proofing. This is our second spot where we've worked together, and I can't see it any other way. It's nice to have someone around who I can vent to that actually gets it. He gets the hours, even though sometimes we're two ships that pass in the night. I can't imagine doing it any other way.
There's no way we're getting through this interview without giving him a shout out. And now's the part of the interview where you all have a chance to give shout outs. And there's always people who've helped you pave the way, whether they're mentors inside or outside of sports communications, family, friends. Who has helped pave the way for you along the way? And who are those people that you'd like to acknowledge and thank who've really supported you throughout your careers? Who should we start with? We'll go back to Kara. Why not?
Well, I just mentioned Zach. I followed Zach to Utah State. Zach followed me to Michigan State, and it's been 11 years of SID power coupleness. So I appreciate everything he's done. It's been great. I know a lot of people say, I don't know how you do it, but I can't imagine it any other way. So I thank Zach for putting up with a lot of Kara anxiety attacks and rage sometimes. So I appreciate him. And I always have to start with my dad. He's the one that taught me how to score a baseball game at Wrigley Field at the 1984 NLCS. So it was great to have him teach me the love of sports, and I will always have a paper scorecard with me wherever baseball game I go. And I have to thank Mary Howard at Florida and Dave Chaffin at the WAC. Both taught me how to, the little things, be meticulous, detail oriented, all those little things that no one wants to do. Take a leap, be strong, and always be confident in yourself. So those two helped me become who I am back in the 90s and early 2000s and make it all the way today. I am always infinitely grateful for both of them.
Well, one of these days we'll have to do a official CoSIDA SID power couple rankings. So whenever that happens, I'm sure that the Fishers will be included on that list. We'll go to Cortland. Dan, who would you like to thank?
Well, first of all, Kara, I just want to let you know that for a while, actually, right before I got the position at Cortland, my wife and I actually worked together at a boutique PR firm. So, and again, surprisingly enough, probably to a lot of people, that worked great. It worked really, really well working together like that. It was a small boutique agency, and it was awesome. So I just want to share that with you. So obviously, the first one I'm going to thank is my wife, Peggy. When I first interviewed for the job with the legendary Peter Carisno, one of the questions he asked me was, well, if you got a plan on Saturday, if you were going to go out with your wife and do something, but you tell her, well, I've got to cover a soccer game. Well, how's that going to fly in your household? And I told him, well, it's going to fly pretty well because A, I'm not going fishing with my buddies. B, I'm working is what I'm doing. So, and 20 something years later, she understands, she gets it. She knows what the hours are. She used to work in the restaurant business, so she used to have to work some crazy hours covering events and things such as that. So she understood that. And so for 20 years, of course, she got used to me being gone all the time. And then naturally this last year, I'm working from home a lot. And so she's tried to adjust to that, but she really can't wait until August when I'm back in the office full time. So she's the number one thank you. Obviously, I also have to thank Fran Aaliyah, the mentor, the one I've worked with these 20 plus years at Cortland. He showed me how to do things right from the start. And because the way Fran does things is right. Thank Pete Carisno again, because he was one of the first, our communications director that interviewed me. I do want to thank President Bitterbaum at Cortland. He's been by my side. He's been in my corner. It's great to have the president in your corner, even when you chastise him for cheering in the press box. He still has my back all the time. And also just the director of communications now, Fred Pierce, and our VP institutional advancement, Peter Perkins, because they're hands off. They know what we need to do to get the job done. They don't micromanage. They just let me be autonomous the way Fran has let me be for all these years. And again, that's very appreciated because they know there's nobody else that's going to get this job done except yourself. You do the work, that's fine with me. And last but not least, the student athletes.
Well said. Dan McDonnell, we'll have you come up third this time.
Thanks. And first off, I definitely want to thank my wife. She's actually met me about halfway through my tenure at USI, and she puts up with some crazy hours, and we've got two beautiful little boys at home, and they make coming home. They make it a lot easier to leave work at home, or I mean, leave work in the office, and when I get home, I can focus on them and not focus on the job. But as far as colleagues are concerned, I definitely want to thank Chris Day and Tish Elliott. Used to be I worked with them at Mesa State. It's now Colorado Mesa, as an undergrad, and they really got me started in the industry. And then I've been lucky enough to be at one institution throughout my entire career, and Ray Simmons has been my boss for the last since I've been at USI, and I couldn't think of anybody else I'd want to work under or learn from. He's been absolutely not just a mentor, but a great friend, and someone that I've always been able to lean on. And then there's several people in the GLVC, throughout the years that have taught me. Roy Pickerel at Kentucky Wesleyan, Eric Hess at SIU Edwardsville, Don Owen, who's no longer at Northern Kentucky, but he was SID at Northern Kentucky, and so many people that I'd like to thank. That probably don't have enough time to go through. And then John Keene at Missouri SMT, he's the one that nominated me, and I really do appreciate all of their support throughout the years, and great people to learn from.
And Brian Mason.
Well, I'll start with my wife. I mean, she has put up with a lot over the time that I've been in this business, and like Dan was alluding to, I think this award and what's gone along with it maybe has helped educate her a little bit on what it is that I do all those hours that I'm not at home. But I want to thank her for everything that she's done to help allow me to keep doing this and enjoying it so much. And I mean, she's been a work from homer since before that was a term that we all knew. And so it was a big change in the last year for her to have to share her home office with me. And I think we're both probably glad that I'm getting back to the office, probably for different reasons, but I have to start with her. Before I had to learn the ropes in the SID business, I started out right while I was in college in the newspaper business. And there's a guy by the name of Dick Fridley, who was the sports editor at the newspaper in my hometown. And he was really my first mentor and became a good friend. And I owe him a lot for teaching me the ropes there. And then there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Sullivan, who passed away a few years ago, that I had the chance to get to work with after being a longtime admirer of his writing at a different newspaper. And he also taught me a lot. I owe a lot to him. And then I got into the SID business, and I'm obviously very glad I did. But I had at Northern Iowa, Nancy Justice was a real trailblazer in the industry. She hired me. Josh Lehman and Colin McDonough followed her and really let me, as a student, that idea of like empowering your students. They empowered me and really let me spread my wings and figure out what I could do. And I owe those two a lot for giving me that freedom. And that led me to the position I'm in now at Wisconsin, that I'm extremely thankful for. Justin Doherty hired me. Been extremely fortunate to work under him for the last almost 15 years. Brian Lucas, I've worked for and alongside for a long time, specifically on the football side. An absolute privilege to work with Brian on a daily basis. And I can go down the line of others here that have been here as long as I have. And, we've got a great core group. I'm thinking of, Tam Flarup was here when I started, an absolute legend in the business. And Diane Nordstrom's been here the entire time. Paul Capobianco, somebody that should probably be sitting here winning this award, in my opinion. And then people across our department. I've got people that are very good at what they do in their different aspects of the world of athletics, and for some reason take my advice and ask my opinion still. And Patrick Herb, Kevin Klunder, Chris Hall, folks like that here. And then, as much as I appreciate sort of the mentors that I've had, I really also appreciate we call them the kids around here, like the ones that are coming up, because to the point that's been made several times, if we stop learning, we're dead in the water. And so I've had, we call them kids, but they're all turning 30 now. Brandon Harrison, Kelly Steffes, Jerry Mao, some really super talented people that try to help me stay relevant as the times change. So from learning the ropes in the newspaper business and into the SID world and all facets of the athletic department here, I've been really fortunate to be around a number of great colleagues and some people that have gotten out of the business that I'm still fortunate to call friends. And so too many here to name in the time that we've got, but even if I didn't name, that I truly appreciate everything you've done to get me to this point.
We saw a trend here. Everybody thank their spouse first. So let this be a lesson for all you youngsters watching this interview who may one day be sitting up here. Always thank your spouse first if you do have one. As we close out this interview, a fun one, as we had a group discussion today, I want to give everybody a quick second to give a couple final thoughts. Anything else that you'd like to share about your career or final words with our viewing audience? And we'll start this time in Central New York.
Well, the interesting thing with me is that when I got into the SID business, I was actually in my 30s, and I wasn't one of those up and comers that that was looking to have this be my career. My major is writing for television, radio, and film. So I was always competed in sports. I was always an athlete, and I worked in television, I worked in radio, I worked in public relations, and when this opportunity opened up at Cortland, I thought, well, this all fits with everything that I enjoy doing. And the interesting thing is that when I went for the interview, I was told I wasn't going to get the job because they had to go through the interview process, and I was an acceptable candidate, but they already had somebody in position who they were going to offer the position to. But instead of bombing the interview, I stuck with the interview. I completed it. And it turns out that the other individual took a job somewhere else and they offered the position to me. So, so I'm not traditional in that way. And I'm, really thankful that Cortland took a chance on me. And here I am today. And it's just, again, unbelievable that I've been chosen as an achievement winner. So that's pretty much it.
Brian Mason.
I just reiterate what an honor it is to be sitting here virtually anyway, with the other winners here. It is an honor. I really appreciate everyone that from those here that nominated me to everyone that voted. It means a lot to know that, like I said earlier, the work you do matters. And I guess that'd be a message I would have, sort of along the lines of what we talked before to those that are coming up now is, don't be afraid to lean on your expertise and trust yourself and make yourself useful to those around you and to your department where you think you can help. Because I think, we, by our nature, are a multifaceted, multi-talented type of person, and we can do a lot of good if we apply ourselves wherever it's needed.
Kara Fisher.
I would just like to speak to the people that obviously I look a little different than everyone else on the screen. So I hope to inspire women and people of color to get in this profession and stick in this profession. I want to see more people that look like me. I want to see more people stick with this. It's a great profession, and I hope that I can inspire other people that are kind of minorities in this profession to jump on in, get your feet wet, then I'll be here if anybody needs any help getting in and staying in. I would love to be there.
And the last word is yours, Dan McDonnell.
Once again, just honored to receive this award and to be here with Dan, Brian, and Kara and Ira. it does mean a lot. And for, once again, all the the younger SIDs out there, people that are looking to go into this, learn as much as you can, because as Brian alluded to earlier, you never know what you're going to be in sports information. It may be a video aspect, publications aspect, writing aspect. You can never know enough. So just be open to learning and go in with an open mind.
Well, thank you guys. And once again, Kara, Dan, Brian, and Dan, thank you for your time. Congratulations again on your respective 2020 and 2021 CoSIDA Achievement Awards. Congratulations.
Thanks, Ira.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats, everyone.